Greetings, salam, salam. Pardon self, I'll be back just a moment. Just trying to spread the word, just trying to spread the word. Right on time, right on time. Shout out to Rami Salam Bey, stole the legacy of the Moors, Mound Builder, Shin Lefty. Let some Moors come on in and get my my battery pack. My battery is low. Be right back. Islam, Islam. Shout out to Brother Iz. Shout out to Key L. Shout out to Brother Sheldon. Shout out to Great. Can't see that. Great Con 7. All right, Morris, I just wanted to do a much better job of sharing some of the things, especially when I have a chance, especially to travel with Moors, even when I don't, in the sense of proclaimed and declared Moors. So coming to you live and direct from Colombia, South America, and oh, someone else wanted to be here. Hold on, hold on. I just think I just missed it. I'll come back because somehow I tried to click on, but it's not letting him join in. Neither here nor there. But I do want to make sure that for part of my purpose in this divine and national movement, part of my purpose in some of the things that I'm doing private, I want to make sure that we share, we document, even if people don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear, it's for posterity purposes. And us being able to document things and make connections. And it's amazing being here and seeing some of the things that we've seen in the last 2 days. Shout out to my man, Yusef. What is up? We haven't seen Alex Sosa, but in a second, I'm going to ask Sanaya to come on because he joined me in a part of our journey, and we'll get to that later as we want to make it an annual ritual to link up and travel places together. Now, we know Moors have been doing this before. I've been doing this before with other Moors, but to go to places that we haven't been and to draw connections. Because again, just yesterday, we were in a museum. We're like, oh, it's just not too far from our hotel. We'll go there just because as Moors, you have to do that. When you go to anywhere, even in your jurisdiction, go to the museums. I say this all the time. Go to the art museums. Go to any of the places, especially the ones that are free. You'll be surprised what you see. We went to the Museum de Simon de Bolivar. So you guys know he has been monikered the Liberator. And we're not even going to address that. But we walked around the entire place. It was, you know, they charged foreign nationals a little bit more. And we're like, man, I don't know. I feel like we got finesse. You know, what is this? And so we finally make it around back to the front and we see a little tarbush with a tassel on it. So moments like that. And whether you, again, are by yourself, with your partner, with your progenies, or just with, you know, your loved ones, please make sure we go and share our story. So quick points, we went to the Gold Museum. So for those of you that have been anywhere near South America or to Colombia, you probably want to go here. And boy, oh boy, do they have some gems in there. And Sheldon, we found your doppelganger. So I'm going to send it to you in group chat. We found Sheldon's long lost ancestor, or his clone, that looks exactly just like him in the Go Museum yesterday. So one of the things that you see when you get there, they have it beautifully done. You can see that a lot of the money has gone into keeping the museum together, but there's a floor called Cosmology and Symbolism. Man, you guys, if I was charging y'all like some people do, I got to put up my Cash App or something, I don't know, but like the stuff that we saw in there that they have preserved, and we're saying, like, I showed Asana, I said, this is the stuff that they have up top. What do they got down in the dungeons or whatever? And then the second thing I'm going to make sure I commit myself to is to create items, put together information so that we have it. And I know that when we looking at some of the things that we saw, even just today, mind is blown. And so one of the things I wanted to show was this image. This image here of the Virgin Maria. Your clone. Sheldon?
Yeah, I'm here. Islam. Can you hear me?
So, and let me see. Let me get Asinai on here because I want him to. We're gonna bear witness to when we were in the Gold Museum, and we were like, "Yo, that's Sheldon." I'm and I'm so serious. And if I had common sense, I would have taken a screenshot of the image. Or Asinai, you can pull it up on your phone as you're joining, so you can be able to see. But and so, not to mention, this floor is for cosmology and symbolism in the Gold Museum. Now, one of the things that they do there is, you know, in the museums, and those of you that are back, especially at the North Gate or wherever you are, always look for pre-Hispanic. So when you're going to any of these museums or you're looking in source material, you want to look for pre-Hispanic. Now, we're not going to get all into it, but the stuff that they had, guys, I'm just saying. So, Asinai, you can greet yourself, but please try to look on your phone. I don't think you're using your phone. You're not going to be able to do it. But we will, I will post, with permission from Sheldon, his long lost ancestor that has been engossed in gold for I don't know how many centuries. So, Asinai, introduce yourself and just get people something.
Islam was. I don't even know what to follow up after the Empress, but as the Empress said,
where is he? Is he there?
Been, I think, second or third year that we've traveled together now, and
he's not there.
This trip came about as most other trips do come about in terms of you have the intention to visit somewhere.
I don't.
For many
Those are
different
magnets?
purposes, and you know the wonders of life take the different avenues that they do.
Okay.
But we arrived
you muted
in the
yourself,
university
by the way,
in terms of
so I don't
arriving
know if you
from
can
this
hear
trip.
me, but
I
you
think
muted
it's just a
yourself.
testament to some of the great things that we found since being here, and to the point that the Empress made. Having that spirit of exploration, having the willingness to essentially go outside yourself and go outside what you'd consider to be your comfort zone, and to find those bits and pieces.
I think that's amazing,
like the Empress was saying, in terms of
all the way in Colombia, they're going to have
the cultural connection everywhere, in terms of, for example, as the Empress said, in terms of we went to the Casa de Gualaba,
that's really
and
interesting.
I was quite disappointed in terms of
can you hear me, by the way?
In terms of being finessed, and I didn't really see anything that was essentially worthwhile for us being there.
Because I can't hear you.
The moment
I don't know if
we walked in, the first thing that we saw.
Oh, okay. You know. Okay.
I wanted to let Asinai speak.
But where is he though?
You don't see?
I can't hear him.
Still Legacy. Can you see, bro? Can you see, brother?
Here.
And Brother Sheldon, where's Brother Sheldon?
I can't.
You can't hear him either.
No, I can't hear him at all.
Can you hear him?
If he's speaking, so
I can't. I'm talking to both of you, so I'm gonna kick both of you out. We're gonna try it again in a minute.
All right.
All right.
All right. Slow.
All right. All right, guys, we're going to come back. But are you still there, Sheldon?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Yeah, so I just wanted to show like where, so just quickly, I knew initially when we decided to come here that I wanted to see, because it's just like if those of you that have been to Paris, you go to the top of the city in most cities in the world, and there's a viewpoint that you see. You know, you get a view of whatever. And especially, you know, when you go in certain places in the Americas in particular, you're going to have a plaza, you're going to have a cathedral, you're going to have churches, you're going to have something that's going to be there at the top of the hill, because that's what our ancestors did as well. Like, you always want to put your propaganda, your imagery at the top so that people can look up and see it. That's something that's, you know, ancient, right? So I had no idea what was inside the church. And so yesterday I was like, man, I just want to make sure, you know, we get a chance to go up there. And I had no idea that she was. So we go in, and I'm like, remember we were in that church in Germany last year?
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of, you were like, oh yeah, look at the double eagle and like look at the Habsburg, and then out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, yo, that's some Moors on the stained glass window.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So like in
yeah.
in a similar vein, we just get into the church. Iglesia, we just get in, and I see like, oh, I see melanation, like what's going on in the corner, and we got her right out. I'm just like, and I can't even speak. I'm just, for those Moors, those of you, when you have these kind of experiences, when you see something that you've wanted to see for a long time, or just it has a connection to, you don't know what it is, but when you see it, it hits you a certain way. And I'm sitting there, and we're fezzed up, by the way. We're fezzed up, you know what I'm saying? And one of the amalgamated brothers, like he saw us coming in, and he's just cheesing, like he's laughing. And so he knew what was there, I guess, before we knew what was there. And just seeing her in that space, and everybody that was Asiatic that came in, they took their picture with Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going, like, the other picture that I'm going to show you is a brother with a fez on with the moon on it.
Okay.
In the same glass, right in the same little area. Like and this is what I'm saying. So Colombia is very affordable. So those of you that are at the North Gate, it is something that you can do. And we met a sister here. We watched a video in an area where it was talking about the food. And I'm like, well, where's this food at? We haven't seen this food in Bogota so far. And it was of a place where all of the Moors are at. They're on the Pacifico coast. So all of the pre-Hispanic national parks, some old stuff that they have, it's on the Pacific. And she was saying, because we were like, well, whose restaurant is this? Like, we want to go eat there and go find her and, eat her food. But the point was, we're going to have to come back and do some more research about those people there, because even at the Gold Museum and the National Museum, they still had relics of the Pacific Coast of people that look like us. Like the stuff that they have, guys, I know I'm going to hold myself accountable and put something together just to see, because I know the argument is about Africa and about the Americas. But when you see the evidence, pre-Hispanic, even pre-Olmec, the connections we have to the Nomo, to the cosmic egg, just cultural things that are here in gold and in stone in Colombia. So like just the conversation, like at this point, like we already know it's not even debatable, but just to see the evidence here in just the small little museums connecting us prior to anything European, prior to anything Spanish, or even Los Indios, anything Indian or Amerindian. So I wanted to just show and give honors to her. And I want to give honors to the people at that cathedral for keeping this available and for people to come in and see it.
That's amazing.
Go ahead, Sheldon. Go ahead, Sheldon.
No, the thing that's amazing to me is, because I went to Montserrat, right? But I went to Montserrat just outside of Barcelona. I think it's like a 45-minute train ride or something outside of Barcelona. And well, I know I showed the pictures of me of me next to the Asiatic Madonna and child, and to see that they're talking about Montserrat in Colombia, so technically so far away from this other Montserrat, is fascinating to me. That it makes sense, obviously, that there's a connection, but this is a blatant example of the connection. If they have this Asiatic Madonna and child, and it says Montserrat at Colombia, and then they had the, you're saying that they had the, obviously they had the Madonna there as well, right?
Yep. I'm going to post it later. Yeah.
So it's just, and exactly, and then Montserrat, and then was it Bogota, DC, Colombia, and it was Santuario.
Yep.
Santuario, like, huh? Like my mind's like, what? And so this goes with what Asir be talking about, how the same stuff that it's at the Americas is on the other side, and so on and so forth. So that's amazing. This is amazing to me. It's amazing to me. It's not surprising, but it's surprising. You know what I mean?
And it's just like that day we were there and we were like, should we go in this church? We were like, ah. And you never know. And I think that's the message. So number one, I want you guys to do your best to take yourselves, your loved ones, especially the young ones, to museums. And we got to start putting these things together so that we can show and we can shut down these debates about, are we only, autochthonous and indigenous and aboriginal to the Americas, or we are Pan-Africans. Like, when you see what we saw in gold.
And that's another thing too. Yeah, that is nuts that it's in gold.
Like the cosmic egg. So those of you that are familiar with a lot of West African culture, I mean, when I walked in, I was like, it said Madre Agua. I said, Mama Wata, Madre Agua? So like, I mean, I'm going to put something together. I'm going to hold myself accountable and put something together just on this part. We still have other travels to go. So this is just literally day 2, like full day 2, just on some regular stuff. And it's divine. And so that's why we wanted to say, please do your best you don't have to travel. You don't have to get on flights. Don't have to do, any stuff like that. Go to the local museums. And when you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, we're going to make connections. We're going to make sure that we have this and we share it so that we can shut down these divisive distractions, because we know the most important thing is for people to proclaim and declare that they are not Negro, Black, and color, that they are more. We want to honor Noble Drew Ali. We want to have this idea of truth and divine truth. So politics is always going to be a part of what we do, but we want to make sure that we show people, just shut it down. What are you talking about? Like I think they said their date was 1470 BC. We have images of, I think we're going to put something together where I just show a couple of photos and we'll just talk about it, probably like for half an hour. And I think I'll just upload it. I'll just be talking and I'll just put it up just so that we can show some things and provide some sources, because the stuff that we saw in the last 2 days, and again, I've been to almost 60 countries and I've seen a lot of stuff. This right here, and that's why I said when I wanted to go to Spain and see the original one. And just seeing her, it does something to you. And they had the Christos, the Moros Christos. Man, y'all, the stuff we got, I mean, we spent a grip in the store just to have these things for posterity. For those of us that have people in our family that are still a part of this is something that is a conversational piece.
Yep.
And the Christos that we got, the Isa that we got, Ass and I got one.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, and we already got it wrapped up. I'm not even unwrapping it for y'all. But what I'm saying is, and I'll give you this story. So we were in line coming down. We were at the top, going down on the cable car. So this brethren from Montreal, shout out to Montreal, he had roots. His nationality is he's Algerian. says, "Oh, that's a Turkish fez," and we were like, "No, it's Egyptian, it's Moroccan, it's American, whatever."
Yeah.
And the first thing he tried to diss me, he was like, "Oh, there's no such," and then I was like, "Oh, the Moorish Empire." He said, "Oh, no such thing." I'm like, "Oh, he's one of those." So pivoting like a couple seconds later, I was like, "Okay, I know who he is." So I said, "You know of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the pyramids of the sun and the moon?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You know, the culture that built, though, they're called the Olmecs or the Chi people." And I said, "I want you to Google Olmec head with a fez." I said, "They had this on here. And that's the oldest civilization in the Americas that we can prove so far." And I said, "There's no Hispanic, there's no Spain. And they had this on here." I said, "You can look at the back and see their braids and you can see the tassel."
Yeah. Yep.
And then he got it. And then I said, "Here's the book. It's called The Moorish Empire in Europe." I was S.P. Scott or Budget Making. I always get them confused. But I was like, Google that.
Scott. Yeah.
And this is your point of reference. And so, number one, we were better behaved today because we had our fezzes on. And we were saying, I think we need some Sheldon energy because we might get into some fisticuffs. But I just wanted to say that, number one, I give thanks for Asanaya for indulging me and with a whim to come and spend some time in a place that neither of us have been before. And to be willing to put ourselves out there and share as we're meeting people. I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to come on and say, hey, please, guys, go to museums. And those of you that do travel, shout out to Moors that do travel, because there's definitely more than one.
Yeah, y'all don't have to travel if y'all don't want. We'll do the traveling for you because we love to travel. So y'all can stay your asses at home. Y'all can stay your asses at home. We'll be bouncing around the globe, checking out shit.
And that's fine.
We won't be asking for cash apps or anything like that.
No cash apps here. No cash app.
Ourselves bouncing around the globe, looking at different things and taking pictures and enjoying and eating the good food and meeting the people and all that. Y'all can stay your asses at home because I done tell all y'all need to travel and a lot of y'all are still staying at home. Shout out to Exodus because he's traveling too. Exodus Bay. He's traveling. I've seen like he's posting up. He was in Egypt the last time, and he's posting pictures. So he's got the bug, and he's been bouncing around, which is dope. But yeah, if y'all don't want to travel, don't travel. I'll travel, and I know that Khalifa will be doing the traveling too. We'll travel for everybody because we love it. Where's Asanaya? I want to hear the brutish accent, man. Where's he?
All right, if for some reason it's being weird and not letting him on, so I don't know what the vibration is.
Or maybe maybe it's not letting on 3 people at the same time. So maybe I should, because I've seen it before where 4 people have been on, but maybe, oh wow, maybe there's something to that. So maybe I should jump off and maybe he'll come on.
Okay, I give thanks, and it was good to hear your voice. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So how do I get off? Let me see, or maybe you have to send me off. But yeah,
I think you can leave.
I have to press X. Oh yeah, I guess that's it. All right, yeah. So we'll link up soon.
We will, and I'll send you your doppelganger. I'll send you your
All right. Yeah, I want to see that. I definitely want to see that. And you know. On a side note, I was just. I'm not sure if I told you, but I know that my family's part of the Choctaws because I remember checking the, there's a list of names that belong to Choctaws, and there's several links within my family that go back to Choctaw, which was like really interesting. It was like
Man, no disrespect to the Choctaw. This is BC, Sheldon.
No. I'm just saying. I'm just saying in what's interesting is this was one of the original things I checked way back in 2012. 2012, I remember I was just going on the internet, and then I found a list of all these names that are supposed to be with the Choctaws and all that. So, but anyways, Yeah, let me jump off and let's see if Asa and I can jump on. All right. Peace and love. We'll talk soon.
All right. Love you. Islam.
Islam.
All right. Islam, you there?
I'm here. Islam.
All right. Yeah. So now you can properly say what you were saying, because apparently I was the only one hearing you.
Peace, Moors, peace. First and foremost, Empress, give thanks for going live and sharing this and kind of recording this in posterity. Asanai Bay. And as Empress said, I think this is the second or third trip that we've done together. And it's truly divine and national, as they say. I've had the privilege and the honor of being with Moors in my own home jurisdiction, as well as in several other international jurisdictions. And I can always tell you the love and the presence and the energy that is felt, while it differs, and I'd say in different jurisdictions. And then definitely we have felt a different sort of energy here in Bogota than I'd say we've felt anywhere else. But I'd say that one key element or key feeling that I'd say that has really kind of resonated well with me is that, also two, should I say, correct self, is one, to Empress's point, we need to stop waiting for so-called custodians to recognize us and ask us to come and reclaim our heritage. They are waiting, and it's there, it's available. If you're willing to kind of step outside your comfort zone and willing to essentially take that journey on your back, to essentially knowledge yourself, to tie yourself back to your ancestry, to understand that we are a global, national, international, galactic people, but you have to understand how that manifests. And I think that for myself in this journey, it's been a true honor to see that unfold and see myself unfold and see myself in many different time periods and see my ancestry, whether we're linking back to the Nomos, or with linking back to the Phoenicians, or with linking to the Dogons, or we're linking to the Olmecs or the She people, or we're linking to the Mayan, the Aztecs, you name the culture, the sentiment, wherever you go, there you are, has never been more apt for me in terms of traveling on this movement. On the same sort of district, and I know the Empress has covered the main points, I'll just kind of add some anecdotal points, just in terms of our trip and just the energy. We saw a Masonic lodge, literally down the road from the Gold Museum, and just the idea of seeing the nation building, the construction, and seeing how, I'd say that culture, and that culture, we took it, that Asiatic culture and that Moorish culture, we took it all over the globe. And we had the final privilege, the final place that we visited, I know Empress didn't touch on it, it was something that, I don't know why it really stood out and resonated to me today, it was the Del Toro, the bullfighting ring of Santa Maria, Del Toro de Santa Maria, which is one of, Empress is showing the tarbush now, in terms of that was it was the first thing, it's the piece of the month at the Casa de Simon Bolivar, which, as Empress said, in terms of he is monikered or titled as the Liberator, but yeah, we'll touch on that on a different day. But even looking at the bullfighting arena, they clearly say that it's Moorish architecture. Now, obviously, we saw we'll share pictures, and it was a little bit run down, it was a little bit derelict, so we can definitely see the idea that we were talking about previously, that they may be custodians, but if you're a custodian, if you don't have any real heritage and an understanding as to how it connects to you, there's only so much care and appreciation that you can have for it. And I think that that's apt for those of us who have traveled internationally and been to the pyramids of Egypt, or, for example, Chichen Itza. Seeing how the locals interact with these ancient centers of power really gives you the understanding and the credence as to who these people are and what their heritage is. They're waiting for that link. They're waiting for someone to come and stand between them and bridge that void to say, okay, this is where we are today, but who were we yesterday and who were we the day before? And our Moorish ancestry gives us that and gives us a lot of answers. So I'll yield the floor to Empress, but I just wanted to say, give thanks to one, Empress said I indulged her, but I really want to thank her for her ingenuity, her flexibility in terms of even putting together this trip. As I was saying previously, it wasn't easy for either of us to get here, and I think the adversities that we each experienced in terms of getting here were just a testament as to what we were going to find. As Empress said, we didn't know what we were going to come here and find, but we found so much more than we can even expect. We walked into the temple, sorry, not the temple. We actually walked, the museum, the National Museum of.
You said it right. You said it exactly right.
And it was a converted church, or potentially it was a church that had been converted into a prison by the conquistadors, by the inquisitors. Islam, Brother Sheldon, Islam noble. And after it had been gutted and they'd taken out the prisoners, by the way, all the prisoners there were Moorish. They were all wearing tarbushis or fezes, and they were all doing the work. They were all being overseen by inquisitors, or potentially even Moriscos, for example. And it's this idea that even when you come and usurp and you essentially take over a people, if you're taking over a people that have a higher culture than you in terms of what are you really going to do? In order for you to be able to gain access to that technology, you need to find a way to essentially subjugate the mind or put some form of trick bag in the way in order to get those people to start engaging with their own culture in a different way. So then you can then start energy jacking. And that's what we've seen quite a lot of here in terms of these things have been preserved. For example, there's some stonework, loads of beautiful pieces of stonework that are thousands of years old and also hundreds and some even thousands of years old, pre-BC, as Empress was saying, pre-Hispanic culture. And it's interesting when you see the misnomers and the monikers that they try to give to us, but I'll move on to that in a second. We viewed, I want to say that a statue was, I think it was 800 BC, and it was carved in stone, and it had a phenotypical West African face with a tarbouche, just like mine, and it was sitting right in front of us. Now, the disappointment there, as we speak about, is you could tell that it was someone who was not a Moor or a declared Moor that had done the write-up for this information, for the simple reason some of the information in relation to the pieces had no bearing. It showed no depth, it showed no comprehension as to what was actually being witnessed and what was actually being preserved. So it was that idea of, to Empress's point, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, in terms of, if you know what it is that you're looking for, signs and symbols are for the wise man. If you know what it is that you're looking for and you know what it is that you are seeking to find, which is self, you can find it anywhere. And the idea of, Empress and I were looking around, for example, we saw some burial urns, and going to the point of linking back to the Nomo and linking back to the Dogon, and we know the burial rites, and we know that the life after death and the idea of preparing the body, preparing the vessel in order to go into the next life is something that has been ingrained in all of our cultures, going back to time immemorial, and seeing how they preserved these urns and how they were shaped in terms of, they called it basket style, and it was something that was handed down from the mystery system from adepts and wise men in terms of to the apprentices as a way for them to be able to hold on to the teachings of their masters. Now, and you find, going back even further, for example, you find images and iconography of these same sorts of time periods, and they're sitting in what would be considered or misnomered as Indian style. And again, it's still that idea of the basket style, the idea of the enclosing, the idea of almost like that fetal position. We saw loads of depictions of Mami water and the idea of the true depiction of essentially the Gebenut, in terms of Geb being the masculine, the divine masculine principle on the earth, and it being the idea of it inferred the confundity and the relationship between Nut in terms of the sky goddess, in terms of the confundity, and them coming together in terms of the middle plane, in terms of where we find ourselves, where you find man that manifests. And once you have an understanding of those metaphysical principles, as above, so below, you can see them everywhere. And it was just so beautiful to see that. And to Brother Sheldon's point earlier on about viewing it from quote unquote Spanish culture in terms of in Spain, in mainland Europe, and coming thousands of miles away. Yes, we have that quote unquote Hispanic link, but they say it themselves, a lot of this is pre-Hispanic, or a majority of the culture is pre-Hispanic. So why are we not invoking and asking ourselves the question in terms of, okay, if it's pre-Hispanic, who is it? Because they're not saying it's them, and when you see the write-ups, they say a group, many different peoples, but they don't put themselves in the situation. It's the idea of they find any way to misnomer these individuals, same way that we find now it's Negro, black, colored, or it's Indian. There was Amerindian, and Empress and I were just looking at each other in terms of, what does that even mean? Or African American, what does that mean? And it's the more Empress and I were talking and engaging at these exhibits, you could see that we were kind of giving unofficial tours and unofficial guides to people around it, because we had modern Europeans there. We even had locals to the area that were listening to us and our questioning and our reasoning, and it was causing them to question themselves as well and starting to think, okay, cool, in terms of, but this doesn't make sense. For example, they had a picture, so they had a almost full armor set of what would have been worn by a Moorish chief. It was, I think they said it was Mayan or Aztec. Empress is showing it right there. Now, I want you to pay close attention to the silhouette. Now, the key, you know, the idea of people always tell on themselves. When you're telling lies, you have to tell on yourself, because at some point, in terms of, you have to conflate the story to a point where people are going to be like, but where are you? Where are you in the story? Now, look at the silhouette of the individual, of the man that's supposed to be wearing that, and they put it to the silhouette of what would be, quote unquote, the modern day kind of Colombian sort of phenotype or body type, in terms of, so a relatively, in terms of stature, not too huge. In terms of maximum, they'd be anywhere between 5'6" and 5'8", maximum maybe 5'10", but in terms of not very broad, not very, a smaller sort of frame, smaller sort of build. Now, if we go back into the annals of history, we know in terms of, we're looking at the idea of, we know that everything on this planet used to be larger due to the oxygen richness and so on and so forth. But even before we get into that, in terms of, if we look at that silhouette, we see that the silhouette that they're trying to put to it doesn't even fit the culture. Now, if you put that on a Moor, even a Moor of today, for example, just an average, someone that would classify themselves as Negro, black, or colored, for example, 6'4", 200-pound, average, quote unquote, Moor, anywhere in what they would fit that. And so looking at these cultural sort of connections and looking at these, just these common sense connections, the idea of wherever you go, there you are, it's right in your face. Can you see it? And I think this is the final point I'm going to yield on, and before I yield and hand it back to the Empress, is this idea that sometimes many of us can't see the forest through the trees. And I think that one of the beauties of knowledge of self and the unfolding of knowledge is this idea of going back and revisiting your own thoughts. It's not about what you think, it's about how you think. And being able to unpick your own thoughts and being able to unpick your own fallacies, your own metaphysical presuppositions, your own ideas of what is and what shouldn't be, your own fantasies that you find yourself indulging in. The more you discover yourself and the more you find errors within your own reasoning, you start seeing where you essentially were blocking yourself from your own knowledge, your own blessings, because it's always been right in front of you. Now, the face the Empress is showing, now that phenotype, my grandmother looks like that. My grandmother has that phenotype, and I'm sure we all have elders, family, friends, people that we know that have similar facial features. Now, I would challenge everybody. The same, I partially started traveling with Moors because my good brother, brother Sheldon, challenged me to stop talking about it and be about it. So I decided to be about what I said I was going to be about, and I just traveled once, and we've made it an annual thing, and we'll continue to do it. But I challenge you, not only to take yourself to your local free museum, I challenge you to take someone, take your mother, take your consort, take your brother. If you have the privilege to still be with your grandparents or those who sired you, your grandsires, if you have the ability and the privilege to still be connected with them, take them. Because the idea of being see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, you don't know, and we don't know what some of our sires and grandsires were affiliated with. We don't know the orders that they were part of, or maybe the knowledge that they studied that allowed us, or that sparked the interest enough to come closer to knowledge of self. We understand that time is cyclical in nature. We always find ourselves repeating in terms of these patterns and these cycles. Now, have you given yourself the best privilege and the most? Are you honoring yourself by honoring those that came before you? And that's the question that I'm going to ask you and challenge you with, in terms of how do you honor yourself by honoring those that came before you? Are you missing a trick? Are you missing truths and gems that are right in front of you that, as they say, in terms of when an elder passes, a library burns down? How many libraries have we allowed to burn down? And how many libraries are we going to continue to allow to burn down? So with that, I'll yield and I'll hand back to the Empress, but I just really want to leave that challenge with everybody. Take yourself and take someone. It's free, but you never know the kind of gems that you could uncover by taking that journey. So with that, I yield it to Mom.
Thanks, Moore. So I just wanted to show a couple of things for free, no Cash App required, because this information is not ours. We don't own it. Our job was to keep it, preserve it, and make sure that generations that come before will have the ability to have the signs and symbols to make these connections. So the debate with regards to, what's the group called? Like the ADOS debate, or let me be respectful, the FBA debate about indigenous and autochthonous. Seeing the stuff that we saw just in 2 days in Bogota, that conversation is dead. And we know that the politics of it will continue to be a divisive scattering of the flock, but we have a responsibility, and I know that I am holding myself accountable because I think it's important to see connections where some don't see connections. And you know, when we get together, and those of you that have traveled together, even if it's within nearby jurisdictions, it's a different vibration. And when people come up to you, and when you see this, even within your own jurisdiction, when you're in habit, turban feds, or sometimes not even, these moments do impact people and change their lives. Just like it happened for us when we saw something and it triggered something within us for us to be able to, oh, look at the shadow self. Hey, shadow. Make decisions and intentional. So as Asanaya was saying, this construct of division, it's been around because our ancestors created it. We can't just have the good and not with the bad. We can't just talk about inventions and innovations and technology without the politics and the division and the scattering of the flock that we did as well. Oh, you showing them? You're showing them?
I'm giving something, Empress. I'm giving something, Empress. You have to give them something.
You're going to show them?
They stayed.
Oh, now you're going to make me pull out my jaw. You're going to make me pull out my jaw? Oh, you're going to do it? Oh, I got to pull her out. Let me pull out Mama. Hold on. I got to pull out Mama since you're doing that.
Give me a little something.
Give a little something. No Cash App required. This is nationality. Look at that. Look at that Christos. Authentico. Look at that. Look at that. You know, some of y'all still love some Jesus, and that's okay. Imagine if you had that up in your house. Imagine the conversations that would happen.
Now for my Moors.
And look at his I guess it's we showing out today. You know, Moors don't like to be shown up. You know what I'm saying?
And look at the Moor there in terms of with the 5 and 2, right? Holding the world, seated on his mother's lap.
And again, you've seen of a set in Beirut.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you near New York, Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's a tiny, tiny statue. Yeah, we're not playing games. Look, you know that's a brother. You know what I'm saying? Even when he's on the cross sacrificing his life for y'all, he's still got his proper apron on. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Still a master builder.
And so this is what we're saying. We don't have to proclaim ourselves a traveling Moor, because we've been traveling before we was saying it, before we was proclaimed and declared. Passports thick, had to add pages to passports. So we do this, and I say, you know what, I'm going to hold myself accountable and put some stuff together and make sure that I share, because this is not our information. Because we went to Colombia and went to a museum and bought some stuff or got some books, we don't own it. We're sharing it so that you guys can share it.
Right, Brother Sheldon?
Look at that Christos. Come on, y'all. Y'all ain't never seen no Christos like that.
Yashua looking chocolatey and ripped, right? And even actually to that point, to codification, and I'll just insert this point very quickly. Empress and I, or Empress, should I say, very astutely picked up yesterday in terms of how they codified a lot of stuff, in terms of rather than calling it Moorish or calling it Morisco, they codified it. They call it Choco, right? So anywhere you see this Choco sort of code, in terms of you find it links to us.
And the place is here. This is the place.
Yeah. And Cali as well. Like there's a whole the Pacific coast towards the north, in terms of where when we were listening to one of the very astute guides yesterday, obviously she had been given the rhetoric that she'd been given in terms of they pushed us out of this at the center of the central areas, and they pushed us into the more northern and along the Pacific coast. But what Empress and I were really kind of quickly acknowledged in terms of, okay, they pushed us into the Pacific coast, but they also moved the municipalities over to the Pacific coast as well. So if you're the slaves, why would the slaves take the governing body and the municipalities with them where they moved? Wouldn't they stay where the ruling class were? So asking all of these, I can't see your request, Brother Sheldon. I think Instagram's definitely bugging out here.
Oh, my apologies. I got you. It's not more. I'm coming.
No. But even looking at the Empress, the photos that the Empress has got right there in terms of that link to the Nomo, the Dogon, the Naga, and they made a lot of, and even if you look at the Asiatic face, look at the eyes. There was and one thing I have to say overall, there's a lot, even in a twisted sort of way, there's a lot of veneration for Mother here. There is a lot, and we even see it in the culture in terms of the way men deal with women here. Come on. Obviously, everything isn't perfect, and there is still some fugazi that goes on, and some stuff that you can see the corruption. However,
but that's
seeing how that
cut out.
Been preserved in the culture and how it still pervades through.
Bad. So then
to Empress's point in terms of we take the good with the bad.
The internet connection.
We started the advisory tactic, so in terms of it stands to reason we're still suffering them for now.
Yeah, it's
we're
got to
still
be
suffering
the
from
internet
that
connection
now. However,
that's too bad.
if we caused the problem, doesn't it stand to reason that we also not only could be the solution, but we must be the solution to the problem?
Because I can't hear anything.
The problem that we started was creating this them against us.
Can you hear me, Empress?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear
Brother. So I think it's got to be an internet. So it's got to be an internet thing.
Let me yield
where,
and hand.
It's probably like a bandwidth thing or something like that.
You hold on. Asanai is going to tap out for a second.
Let me yield. Peace, Islam. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Sheldon, you have me all to yourself.
This is amazing. And just seeing the Asiatic Yeshua just gives credence to the whole Madonna and Son. Like, it makes sense. It completely makes sense. And to your point, imagine having that in a Christian home, in an Asiatic Christian home. Because I know at our place at Montreal, we had a picture of the Last Supper, and it was all Asiatics with locks, but it was like a stylized picture, like it was on the beach, you know what I mean, with fruits and vegetables, like mainly fruits and stuff, and coconuts and stuff, and watermelons and whatnot, just fruits all over the table, and it was only Asiatics.
I'm not speaking, guys. I'm letting them talk.
Yeah. So
I'm here. It's not. It's just because we wanted to make sure that we connected, because we haven't really properly connected since I think before London or something, like on the phone or hearing each other's voices. So I wasn't speaking, so I wasn't like I was talking. I was just letting Asanaya or a Sheldon speak. So I wasn't saying anything.
But I should actually probably jump off because Asanaya was going in deep, and for some reason, pause. And for some reason, for some reason, all three of us can't be on at the same time. Yo, that's a crazy looking piece. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. And just something that just popped into my head. Del Oro is very close to Del Moro. So isn't Moro and Oro, Moors and gold, are very, very similar in Spanish, or or Latin, I should say.
Moorish Latin.
All right, so let me jump off, and maybe it'll be easier for Asanaya to come back on, because that's too bad, man. But yo, this is getting me hyped. I love it. All right. Peace and love.
Give thanks. So I think one of the things I'm gonna make a point, and then we're gonna wrap it up because it's been a long day. But I wanted to do this on a more consistent basis, but make some connections so that you guys can do the same. So those of you that have seen the images, in particular from West Africa, Mauritania, Morocco, you see an image that looks like this. This is gold. I think it was 1407 BC, 1470. At least and their date range was already, off. So if this image is in a lot of West African symbolism, how is it in Colombia, or what was the Southern Americas, or whatever it was called at that time? How is this here in gold? So this conversation about autochthonous, indigenous, aboriginal, we know it for the purpose of reclamation, of proclaiming and declaring, chapter 47. We understand, understand, and overstand that purpose. But we got to make sure we don't get lost in the proverbial sauce of scattering the flock. We know that there is political people playing games for the control of the heart and souls of our own people. And these are people that are proclaimed and declared Moors. I'm not talking about FBAs and ADOS and Pan-Africanists or people in whatever demographics or constituencies, religious orders, whatever they're in. We were once not proclaimed and declared. And it is so imperative for us to make connections, because y'all want to keep playing, y'all do that. This is in the Americas at Museum in Colombia, the Gold Museum, and it's the same iconographic symbolism. The W and the M, as above, so below. Like, there's so many different lessons in this symbol. And we were there, and I was doing my best to trigger, just like I did at the Masonic Museum in London when I was saying who raised you, as Asinai reminded me. There's no Amerindian. There's no Hispaniola. There's no Vespucci. There's no conquistadors. There's no pale-faced blancos, Europeanos, Occidentals, whatever you want to call them, Albions at this time. So we have to make sure that we put this out, and for people that will come across it, they will be able to see it. I'm not going to argue with people that are low-hanging fruit. And for those of you that didn't watch that video, goodness, I was so frustrated with seeing some of the truth and falsehood strangely missed at the Masonic Museum, where they had so many different dates as far as their establishment. So those of you that are familiar with the Prince Hall narrative, the word is that he had to go to another jurisdiction to get authority to create his charter, but the charter that they said or that they use in that time frame is a lie and is not even remotely, it's after his time. It's a contemporary. And so even with the Museum for Simón Bolivar, it talks about him being a 33 degree Mason. And he has a lot of information and connections to the colonies. They have an image of him in Central Park at Nuevo York. And he talks about the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Like, the connection between him going to Haiti and asking for assistance for him to rebel and fight against the Spanish. And he promised them that he would end slavery. And here they keep calling him the liberator. And I do my best to say that no, he's a liar. He was not a liberator. And you can see in the different images of him that he was amalgamated of some type, Sephardic of some type, in his depictions, as a way for him to be able to have that conversation with the sister and the brethren at IT. So again, the stuff that we just saw today, the conversation about West Africa or Africa as the head, I guess that could be fine, but the question should be, we found something just as old and gold here in South America. So I just need to get some clarity, and I need there to be the conversation of, man, the culture had to be far and wide. And those of you that are familiar with the Akhenaten typography of that kind of, we assume it's an alien head. When you look at Akhenaten and the way that they call it a deformation of the head, that's very prevalent here in South America. And if those of you that go to Peru or Machu Picchu or Bolivia, you will see evidence of that. And you had that here at the museum. And again, my question is, that's the Armana period in Kemet. So how are people still shaping heads and what they call deformed heads from something that's supposed to be way over there here in South America? So what I'm going to do is, before we finish up, I'm probably going to do a couple of like 5, maybe I'll do a couple of minute videos about just some quick things and give you some sources, so you guys can see it. And again, this is yours. We have to be the bearers of this and be ready to explain, show the connections, and pivot so that we can have it, so that we can reclaim and even share it. There were people that were listening to us several times over the last few days, and you get so caught up in trying to find something for people to grab a hold of for their own edification. Remember, in order for you to enter the temple, you have to know thyself. I know that we love dogma. I know that we like to rep and do what we do, but this is about you and your salvation. And however you take salvation is on you. So at the beginning and end of the day, we love our Moors, proclaimed, declared, or not. We love them out with everybody because we want to uplift fallen humanity. Noble Drew Ali is a universal prophet. Nobody owns Noble Drew Ali. And think about all the shite that they did to Noble Drew Ali when he was here. And we want to have people that make conversations about, membership. We're talking about nationality and birthright. We're talking about breaking generations of genocide, curses. We want to be able to remove that karmic finesse. And one of the charges that one of the reasons why I manifested in the flesh is to see, combine, and share and create. And I want to make sure that I do that. And it's also wonderful to be able to come across Moors with a pure heart, and we have continuity. So, anybody got any last minute questions, comments, concerns? And we know the foolishness that's out there. I mean, that's why I do my best to come online, I don't know, every 3 moons or so. I don't know. But I do appreciate those of you that are still on here fighting the good fight, pushing out information and sharing it. And I'm going to do my best to find ways to put it in a way that we can get people to pay attention. But that's all you have to pay. You don't have to pay anything else, and your time. The only thing you do is to stop saying who raised them. And again, we also want to say, hey, those of you that can travel, I ain't saying, no travel document, no whatever. Those of you that have the ability to come across, I don't have any dictionaries with me in Colombia, but you can send me a DM and hopefully I'll remember to check it. But I am going to do better. So every place that we go, we are going to, do a couple one of these and share. But yeah, so we want to do that. We want to make sure those of you that do want to travel internationally, reach out to us. We want to put some stuff. I'm not being a tour leader or tour guide. If you want to do some of that, you go to the Elder Ashwa Crazy. Make sure you got your 5 or 6 stacks and you do what you do. We just want to link up, you know what I'm saying? Go to some places, laugh, enjoy our company, eat very well, and bring awareness. We want to honor Noble Drew Ali. We want to make people see the signs and symbols of who we are with our with being in habit, turbans fessed up. So, okay, hold on. What does he say? Okay, Sheldon, I saw your comment. I told you I placed my order with Louderware, and it took them like 6 months to give me my travel passes. Don't do that. I just came to see you because I missed you and I hadn't seen you since 2020. So, so we're thinking about doing Granada, Toledo next year and stuff. So we definitely want to be able to do that. I actually knew you was going to say something shady when I knew he was going to say something shady when I had the pants on. I was like, I'm trying not to show it. I was like, oh, somebody said, you as a sister, you can't wear pants. Oh my God, where's your turban at? See, that's what I'm saying. We got people out here thinking they Negro, black, and colored. We got people that thinking that Issa is some pale, surfer from, I don't know, some Albionic place in California, as opposed to having this there. If this is what you see, it would be a whole different conversation in what you're doing. And you're going to pull it, all right, come in and show Christos, Moros Christos, the authentico Christos. You want to show them the mansion we staying in for like 60 notes?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, show me your view, because my view is trash. Your view, you got the shade down. You don't got to show them. You got your shades down.
That's fine.
We don't want nobody to take.
We'll show them. I don't know if you can still see the favela style situation that we've got going on.
Yeah, we got people living in caves in the mountains.
Like,
no, you can't see it.
Can't see it?
Mm-mm.
In the daytime, it is absolutely magical. And the Empress made a point about, she made a joke about the fairs. But even yesterday, we weren't fezzed up for the simple reason, like, there's so much issues that happened with us getting here. But regardless of that, in terms of, even for those who are familiar with the Olmec heads at Easter Island, and even the idea of what it means to lock one's hair, or the preservation of hair. And it was, I think it was, Empress, you were saying that you went on a tour, and the longer the locks on the statue of the Olmec head, in terms of the more power it was said to be derived from that individual. And I say that to say that to this idea of the global culture, when Empress and I were walking around together yesterday, you could see people were just looking, and they were in awe of Empress's hair and Empress's locks. They didn't know how to engage with it. But just to that point of, if we're brave enough and willing enough just to be ourselves, magic happens. And I can't put it any other way except to say that magic happens, because it's a magical experience in terms of, you find things about yourself. And I will even say this in terms of, it's a knowledge of self and experience. So today, after we'd got finessed out of our foreign national notes for the Bolivar Museum, I was quite annoyed. I was ready to leave in a little bit in anger, because it had been a long day. But it was, I said, give thanks to the patience of Empress. The only thing that we needed to see in the entirety of that compound was in the first room, but because we were unable to get into that first room because of whatever reason, it ended up being the last thing that we saw. But I say that to say, in terms of the idea of, love yourself, be patient with yourself, and really give yourself the opportunity to understand that this is a journey, that the more you allow yourself to unfold, the more you allow yourself to, as the Moor quite rightly said, quoting the words of Noble Drew Ali, peace be upon him, be yourself. And I know that for the longest time, it's been difficult in terms of, our people have tried to find a brand, a color code cast system to jump under, a label, a moniker, a misnomer. Just be yourself. And for myself, and for those who have seen me, Brother Sheldon, we're gonna upload your doppelganger. It was in a private area in the Gold Museum, where the Gold Museum was flexing on how they had taken their like little Masonic journey around 52 different countries on the globe. But
52, 5 and 2 is 7, just so y'all know. Right?
But it's just the idea of the posterity, in terms of, even when we were at the British Museum, the Empress and I were talking, and kind of talking to the Prophet tells us to be industrious, right? And the industriousness, and looking at when the Prophet said slave sort of cultures, and not in a derogatory sort of way, it's in the mindset. The idea of having so much. Like, we had the privilege of meeting another Moor undeclared just randomly on our way to our trip this morning. And he instantly saw our fezzes. What was the first thing that he said to us, Empress? He was on the phone to someone, he said, "Oh, Americans."
Yeah, he did.
That's what he didn't even acknowledge in terms of, he didn't acknowledge the fez in terms of not acknowledging, not giving reverence for it. It was that's the cultural connection that he needed. And I say this to say in terms of, he was here doing business. Now, there's a privilege that you get from traveling. Not only do you get to discover yourself, you get to see opportunities, you get to see how privileged you are. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing that the idea of each one teach one, the idea of you don't love yourself if you don't love your people. I'm looking at these Colombians, my brothers and sisters that I didn't even know that were my brothers and sisters in terms of the actual, let's say, modern day connection. And I'm looking at them, and we're looking at the construct of the world. We're looking at how essentially people have been kept back in time, for example. And it's almost like a stage gate, if that makes sense, in terms of people pass through different passages of time, for example. We're looking at the vehicles here, that we're looking at the mindset, we're looking at what people aspire to be in terms of, for majority, the highest aspiration is to be a street vendor. Now, or to do some form of manual labor, something that's intensive, something that you still need to use your body in order to be able to yield profit. There's a lot of homelessness here. There's a lot of aimlessness here. So, and that's a spirit, and that's an energy. But it's not a depressive energy. And the reason why I'm saying this to say is that, like, there is such hope, there's such beauty, but even through those elements of global construction, to we say global masonry or whatever you want to, like that global brotherhood, the priesthood, you can still see something they cannot kill anywhere, whether it's with your loved ones and your circle of love, or people you don't even know, or whether it's within the propaganda of a culture that we assume that quote unquote Latin American culture is more family orientated, or so on and so forth, in terms of they haven't killed family, they haven't killed love, they haven't killed the community, they haven't killed the idea of coming together, whether that's out of necessity or it's out of practicality. Those are principles that are epigenetic to us. They're ingrained in us. So and we often talk about, those who are on this live would have seen some of my journey over the past, let's say, 3-4 years, in terms of potentially by myself, but more importantly with these wonderful Moors, Brother Sheldon and the Empress that you've seen me with in many different jurisdictions, but that have taken me under their wing, that didn't leave me behind. They saw a young Moor with a clean heart that was just hungry, that was willing to go to the hedges and highways, whatever that looked like. And I can't say anything, but I'm truly in awe and truly humbled and love and respect my brother and my sister. They've truly treated me like their younger brother. There's never been a question that's been too stupid to ask. There's never been a favor or a request in terms of patience or breaking something down for me that they've never been willing to do for me. They have encouraged me. They have asked me to open up. They engaged me to listen to my perspective, and in them listening to my perspective, I was able to unlock and unfold knowledge for myself. And sometimes the communion element as Moors is what we need. Why? It's because a lot of us have come to this movement, and it's been a struggle. We arrived here through pain and anguish, and we went through many different discoveries to find ourselves here. But we must also acknowledge that we've got here, and a lot of us get here and we're exhausted. We're exhausted, and we carry the torch of knowledge of self, and it's difficult. We find ourselves maybe in combat with those in our circle of love who don't understand who we are now, in terms of we're exactly the same. We've just broadened our mindset a little bit. And it's about having the patience for ourselves, to love ourselves in order to give ourselves that time, and making sure that we have those avenues and those outlets in order to be able to exercise that and grow that and ground that within us. Because it's very easy for those who are on the long and narrow, quote unquote, righteous path to stay steadfast, because you look to your left and you look to your right, and to your left, your brother and sister are out there going to the club and doing things that, you know, that have yield no long-term benefits. So you're right. You've got your sister or your brother asking you to join in them and us sort of battle. You look behind you and you've got no support. You've got those who are supposed to be supporting you, willing to dig the knife in your back. You've got those in front of you that are standing in front of you, trying to block you or preclude you to be the gatekeepers. Now, I say all this to say is that you can't fill anybody with an empty cup. And everybody on this live knows exactly what that means. Whether that was when you were in your ignorance of self and something lit fire in you to find yourself here, or whether it's now you've been in the movement for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, and you're trying to find that fire in your belly to say, why do I continue to go on? I'm here to say it's because of people like me. It's because of Moors like me. People like the Moors like Brother Cujo. Moors on the, give thanks to Moors like Brother Vincia Bay. I watch your lives all the time. Empress Khalifa Bay, Brother Sheldon L. These individuals, and even on this live, Brother Sheldon said we walk side by side. It's that idea when we ask the question, even when we ask it facetiously, who raised you? We're asking the question because we stand on the shoulder of giants and we have to understand what that means. We live in the presence of giants today. Are you willing to be one? Empress is sitting here on a live. We are exhausted. Empress is more exhausted than I. She traveled and had adversities getting here more than I did. We're on this live because we said we were going to be. And you can be this individual. You can be this individual, even if it's not for your local area, for your family, for your circle of love. If you say they're important to you, what are you willing to do to ensure that you have the right environment around you? You're building the temple, your circle of love and your family of love. You're building that true temple, the human family. You're rebuilding, and you're essentially raising fallen humanity. How are you doing that? What do you do on a daily basis in order to make sure that you are truly adhering to that message? And if the answer is nothing, it's okay. It could be making a post. It could be going to your local library. It could be asking your grandsire the question, if you still have the question, asking your mother or father the question in terms of, hey, where did you come from? Like, I came across this in terms of factors. What's this? What does this mean to you? And being willing to show yourself the love, but also extend it to someone else. Each one teach one is a concept that we often, I think that we disregard, but a conversation can change someone's life, as Empress said earlier on. Now, I don't know if Empress has anything else that she wants to add. I realized I kind of just took the thunder. I know Empress was looking to shut down. I'm willing to swap positions with Empress and show a couple of other bits and pieces that I had if she wants to wrap up and yield the floor wrap up and kind of like close the live out. But with that, I yield and I just give thanks to all the Moors that are still here and stay on this honorable journey. Islam and peace.
All right, give thanks, Asnai, for that. And, you know, when you have Moors that get that fire in, you just gotta let them, you just gotta let them have the floor. So what I'm doing is, again, sharing sources. So this here is the Gold Museum. It's their last printing a couple years ago, and I'm going to show the ISBN. So those of you that, libraries is on point, you can go ahead and get this. So we're not gatekeepers. We're not hiding things. Noble Drew Ali said he's pulling away people that are trying to hide stuff from us. Everybody was hiding stuff, and he came to reveal it, and that's why they mad at him. Big mad at him because he revealed the secrets that were held back. So we're not doing all the secret stuff. This is for you and for your posterity. So check it out again. If you want to get that source, there's the ISBN. And so I think in the purpose of when you know what you are here to do, you find it so easy for people to find out what they need to do. We have proclaimed and declared mores that say, you know, you need to do this or you have to do that. No, you don't. We're going from one dogma to another dogma. You have to know thyself. That is before you enter the temple. Now, we know the temple of man. If you haven't heard of that book, get that book. It has a connection to the metaphysical. So to see that the Gold Museum had a whole floor dedicated to symbolism, and just to see things that I didn't. Now, I have seen some things at the Metropolitan Museum of New York a couple of years ago. They had a pre-Hispanic exhibition. I don't know if it's permanent, but I do have some things from that I need to share. So there's a lot of things that that Moors have done and continue to do because we know how Moors are. But despite that, we still have to do our duty. We still have to make sure that people know who Noble Drew Ali is and was. We still have to make sure that people know that they are not a part of a color code caste system. And one of the things that I did when we were talking to people in particular was, in particular, this date. I'm going to show you this, and I'll find it again. But we're talking about BC. Now, we already know the dates is a little bit, you know, on the, you know, it's subjective. We know that. But I want to go back to those two images that I showed before. Like, this book is just crazy. Look at this. All right, well, you know what? Let me not get distracted. Let me show you. And here's an example before I get to my other example. Look at this urn. They can't even properly date it. Culturally, that should look familiar to some of you. We're talking 1 BC to 700 AD. All right. That's all the good stuff. Oh, here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. All right. So we start out with mother. All right. So female anthropomorphic pendant, 500 BC. And whatever we think about the dates, that's before some damn Ghana, Mali, and Songhai Empire. So look at her art, look at her phenotype. And this is in South America, the early period. All right, let's look at brethren right here. Y'all know some of y'all probably look like that on the live right now. And 500 BC, 700 AD. Look at that. We go to any major city and we can find how many brothers that look like this. So this is in gold, people. This is in gold. What else do you need to say to people? Like, what else do you need to say? Female anthropomorphic, 500 BC, 700 AD. Same thing with brethren over here. And then I'm gonna show this because this needs to be just to stop the conversation right here. How is this the same time? Some might argue it might be a little earlier. I'm just saying, I don't want to cause no problems. I don't want to cause no problems. I don't want to cause no problems. I'm just saying that this is 500 BC. So did it start over here? And it don't matter where it started. But I mean, I'm just saying. But let me go back to my one up here at the top. Breastplates. Now, we know the cultures that have breastplates. Hebrew, Phoenicians, Babylonians. How in the hell we got breastplates over here at this time? And that's that same image. Breastplates. If they didn't have the technology, how did they get it? I mean, I'm asking for a friend. Like, I don't want to cause no problems. And just for those of you that are getting triggered by this is on the coast. This is the early period. So now the question should be, if we were actually Slavic, we were beasts, we were less than human, we worshiping animals. How could it be that the early period is creating these things in gold? Let me just go back. You know, it's important to make sure that I want to just keep it a bucka. So how we got cistern? (500 BC). Now, if you in the middle of the Amazon, what you need this gold for? And why would you? Who pushed you to push you in the middle of the Amazon? That's safe. They got metallurgy in the Amazon, in the jungle. They be making gold in the jungle. Amerindians or whatever those phenotypes of people are, they be doing this in 500 BC in the jungle. What's the purpose for the culture for this? Look at somebody on here talking about she thick. Look disrespectful, man. And look at my brethren over here. Why would slaves be made in gold in 500 BC? How could you be a slave and they use your face as a pendant? That means like everybody just popping like, yo, see my pendant? Yo, you got your pendant? Psh, 500 BC, they was they was fronting. They was putting it out there, yo. You check out my pendant, look at it, yo. You check out right here. We represent God. You know what I'm saying? This is just my pendant. Like, what kind of society do we have here in the Americas where you just rocking a pendant like, yo, you know what? Let me, like you guys we put on our shoes. Let me put on this new watch. Let me put on this new jacket. This is a pendant for 500 BC. What kind of society do they have here where this is just one pendant? So, I mean, somebody help me. You got to have clothes to pin something on, don't you? Now, somebody please help. Do you pin it to your skin or, now we do have some tribes that do that, but I'm just saying you would have to pin this to some clothes. So you're the phenotype or what the structure of the argument is that these Amerindian Amazonian peoples had pendants, but what were you pinning it on in 500 BC? And for you to see that Cauca and to see that phenotype. So, I mean, if I'm wearing a pendant, I have to have on garments. I mean, I do my best. I think I try to read a little bit, I try to listen. Look at this right here. Tell me that. Look at this. Now, this is some late stuff. They trying to do it. You see, the quality is not the same. Now, remember, you're killing the priesthood. You're killing the people that know how to do this. That's thousands of generations. I don't even know how many thousands of generations. You cannot create something like even the sister and the brother, or let's even say this. Qualitatively, how are you able to create that in 500 BC in that same, and it's just, you know what, let me just put on my cocoon today, you know what I'm saying, let me just chill out, and you know what I'm saying, it's 500 BC, you know what I'm saying, let me put this on my scarf, it's a little chilly, you know, we on the coast. You have to have a wealthy society. You have to have, your caste system has to be on point, because this is generational. This isn't a, you know, a 5-generation creation. And they got snail pendants. Like, you have choices. So if you want to come to my shop, like we joke and say that Moors only be selling shea butter and t-shirts, and that's okay. I ain't never sold shea butter, but I had some t-shirts. But the point I'm making is that the society has so much that we have so many choices to choose from. Now, we know it's not a free market, but you have a choice where to spend your cowrie shells or whatever it is that you have. And look at this pendant. And this is up to $970. What you wear? You cannot walk around with no shirt on. And what's the pendant gonna stick on? Now, we know those of you that got your copper, you know what I'm saying, you're doing your silver, you think that you really, your magnetism is on point. It's just gonna stick to your body. What is the pendant has to be on clothes? Look at this one over here. And we know how Moors be today. We be wearing some of the jewelry. We're like, yo, Moors be, it's like old hip hop. They call it a Jesus feast. You know, people be wearing their big old whatever. Like, you got to have on something real on point to pull this off in this time period. A sea snail. Like, you know what? Let me put on my, put on my linen. You know what I'm saying? Got my sandals going on. Let me put on my sea snail. That's how I'm feeling. This is gold. And for those of you that need proof, let me do this for you. I want to make sure I reach everybody. Because they say they use something called animism, and we know that's the inappropriate. It says the conquistadors marveled at the lush forests and the vast expanses of bamboo in the region. The chronicles tell of how the different provinces, people hunted the different animals. So for some of you that need to know that somebody approved of it. Now, conquistador, so this is the time, says the early period. What the hell is a conquistador doing that hasn't even been existed, because the Moors haven't even did what they did yet in 500 BC? You ain't no conquistador yet. You're a Morisco. You're a Moreno. Talk about some conquistador. Ain't no conquistadors in this time. This is what we're saying by filter, critical thinking. Ain't no conquista. You don't have any culture, because even your culture is still Moorish culture. So you don't exist in the context of this time. That's why when, you hear Taj talk about the ancient black gods of Egypt, the words don't match the time period. So even when you have something like this that gives you that, you have to be careful, because it's talking about this early region. And we're like, okay, we see that imagery. We got it. We see this. And again, I'm asking for my brethren and sisters across the Atlantic or the Ethiopic Ocean. This is 500 BC. So I know y'all got some gold over there. This shows me some pendants, some cocoons, some cosmic eggs. I mean, just show me something look like this. Talking about, ooh, the pyramids. 500 BC, and you can't be walking around with no top on, mammary glands bouncing around. You got to pin that to close. And look at the size of it. Come on, y'all. Y'all don't know what a pendant look like today, man. Y'all ain't even got your Moorish flag pin. I ain't got mine. But I'm saying, look at that size. Got the scale. Look at the size right there. 500 BC. Let me just show. Look at the other stuff here. This is for funerary. Same time period. Funerary. Attire for the body. This is what they got. Y'all seen that kind of headdress, that Mauryan crown? Them keys. I'm sorry. Is it Mauryan crown? Moorish crown? Mauryan? I said I wasn't gonna be petty today. And you've seen that too. That Ra, that image. I think one of the things that I want to make sure that we're clear on, or that I'm clear on, is that we have to make sure that we give our ancestors a little more credit than we've been giving them. Those of you that have proclaimed and declared you have already broken the cycle, you have to give them some more credit, guys. Look at this. What European doing anything like that? What is this? Breastplate. 200 BC. Breastplate in the Americas. Look at the detail. There's no conquistadors, there's no Amerindians, there's no Hispanics, there's no Spain. Look at this. It's a breastplate. Uh-oh, look at this. I ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? So those of you that are in tune with the Phoenician, with Kali Ma. I ain't even gonna, it's so much stuff that we've seen. I mean, those of you that see Bobby Hemmett with it, or even Phil Valentine, where they be doing 11-hour lectures, 12-hour lectures, just the tape be rolling. And look at this ornament right here, 200 BC. What kind of society do you have where you can create, you have the time, the division of labor, the wealth, the extra gold to just create stuff for pendants? And here's another one. Look at the intricacy. 200 BC. This is gold, guys. That means we were talking about in the museum. In our culture, we probably have a language. We probably have some type of religious order. We have the ability to distinguish ourselves, and we have to have the knowledge to recognize what this symbolizes. So you walking around with your pendants on, you'd be like, hey, sister, yeah, I like that. Who made that? Oh, that's brother, that's Royal Gang. He got the pendants down at, you know what I'm saying? Get some shea butter, get some pendants. Like, I'm just saying, 200 BC. And again, we want to love and respect our brethren across the Ethiopic Ocean, but I'm saying, I just need to see something that's pretty old. And I ain't, oh man, I don't even want to show y'all that one. Should I show y'all that one? You got to hit my cash app up. And for those of you watching this later, I am joking. You will never know what my cash app is. Oh, and let me do this for you. For those of y'all that you like a little music and you like a little, you know what I'm saying, make a little noise. How about some rattles in gold? Anybody got some gold instruments they got? And we know who, I mean, I'm just saying, gold rattles. And probably they was probably for the children, real talk. It looked like little baby toys. Y'all gonna let y'all babies play with some let me go back. Those of y'all that got y'all gonna let y'all baby play with some, you know, y'all it's a Black Friday, no pun intended. Y'all in line trying to get y'all rattles. You know, I got it, man, you know, brethren only make like 5 or 6 of these. It's, you know, 600 AD. You got to get in line to get your gold rattles. Shoot, man, they be fighting in line, you know what I'm saying, trying to get their gold rattles. It's only a few of them. And for those of y'all that, you know, a little more woodwind, you know what I'm saying, pipes, not crack pipes for those of y'all that are a little, you know, on a lower frequency, made out of gold. Like, how much gold do you have where you have so much of it that you're able to put it in all aspects of society? Like, thinking about the idea of inflation, or those of you that are familiar with the story of Mansa Musa, where when he traveled the world, he changed the economy because the gold that he had, it flooded the market. So in the culture here in the Americas, you have to have a connection, or you can't even trade for this much gold to be able to use it for rattles and pipes and pendants. And the time period, this is a little later. So you can tell that again, that the qualitative nature of it is different. So remember when the fall of Montezuma, remember when we have different times when things are shifting, all of those priests, all of that power structure, they are fleeing, they are assassinated, they're kidnapped, or they are forced to convert. So we lose things when we lose power. And so that goes back to how I am going to demonstrate that we have to make sure that we provide the information so that you can share it. And again, those of you that are still loving Miriam or Isa, have these in the household. Put these up. Just put them up for a conversation. You know, your mom's coming over, or grandmama, or auntie, or even your older sibling. You're like, you know, I'm gonna put this up just to be, and we got somebody gonna say something at some point. They're gonna ignore it that first time. You can't ignore this. This changes the conversation. And they're keeping it here. And it's so funny, Asanaya can bear witness to this. When we come in and everybody's like watching us and coming over there, they start changing the energy. He starts singing something. I don't know what he was singing. I ain't never heard that kind of service in a Catholic church.
Yeah, that was wild.
The frequency, because I had to sit, I sat down and I'm just like absorbing what I'm seeing. And so just a part of my story, I love studying religion, because the concept of something that you believe in as the center of your life, I studied it out of curiosity. And then I got into the politics and the different things and the metaphysics and the Christian, you know, all of that kind of thing. But to see yourself, and those of you, I can't think of the place in Paris. It's not Notre Dame Cathedral. It's another one. It's an older cathedral. It was like 11th, 12th century. Went there in undergrad when I studied, and they had images of the disciples as Moors. And I didn't know that I was a Moor. I wasn't proclaimed and declared, but I still took pictures of them. So again, like I said to you, the Asiatics that came in today, they took a picture and they knew what it was, even if they didn't know what it was. So what we're asking you to do, go to some museums. Even if you go by yourself the first time, take somebody with you the second time, and then you don't even got to do studies. You don't got to do classes. You don't got to create a temple. You just got to put some stuff together and have conversation pieces. So if you want to focus on one thing, you got a lot of people in your tribe, your clan that are Catholic, then we need to big up this and share that. Give those out. And if somebody like I got all kind of stuff. Like we changed we didn't do a Mansa Musa, but we changed the economy. And even Guadalupe, I forgot about other history. So whatever you got to do as a gift to give somebody to just have a conversation. They had prayer beads. It's like whatever you got to do, you don't got to be getting on their nerves. Man, you ain't become care. You were more okay. We know they can meet Noble Drew Ali in their heart and in his literature. They don't have to be on you studying, doing all that kind of. That's all they're required to do. And if this is the vibe that they're on, you respect them, you do not denigrate them, and you provide things that change the conversation. Some of the best Moors, Noble Drew Ali said, are in the church. Be respectful and remember where you were at some point. And qualitatively, the images aren't the best, but hey, it's going to draw attention. I know you a Catholic. Oh, best believe. I already knew two that I thought of, and I'm like, oh, I got something for you. And I ain't even going to say nothing. I'd be like, here you go. I was in Colombia, and I thought of you. It makes a difference for those of you that are still on those degrees. When you see something that looks like you and it's being revered, respected, and honored. And when they saw us, as Sanaya can bear witness, what did they do? Went in, did their and pivoted right out. You thought that we was running a basketball drill. We was conditioning. Pick and roll, quick, fast. Now you guys should audition for the NBA playoffs or something. You might make it to the team. For those of us that have loved ones that are still on this degree, give them something that will change the narrative. People want you to meet them where they are, respect them. As Moors, we have a bad reputation of being assholes and disrespectful. There's truth and divine truth. We got to do a better job, and that's why I say it starts at home. Or starts in your heart or your mind, in your relationships. And for those of us that have loved ones that have proclaimed and declared, it is a whole different vibration. And for those of you that have a partner, your consort, your husband, your wife, fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever way you want to describe them, where both of you have proclaimed and declared, or some of you, unfortunately, you might lose a relationship because of this, but you're gaining one with yourself. And you got to look at it like that. So if this is the degree that you got, you know somebody, and y'all know it off the top. You know what I'm saying? We not taking orders. We not doing Cash App. Get you a flight, come on down, and just go to some places and change the game. And you'll be surprised probably how it impacts in what you do. Devotion. I posted earlier an image of some of the things that I travel with, and I think, you know, again, we have to, in our own ways, be able to listen to the elder Moors, listen to the Moors that are on Mount Rushmore, and filter through the things that impact you that you can apply. You trying to copy yourself and be like somebody else without the context and the history and the background, it's not going to work. Know thyself, get up and get active. It doesn't mean, please, it doesn't mean court cases. It doesn't mean doing silly stuff. The more that you are studied of self, the more that you do study. And again, for those of you that are Moors that travel, we want to link up. We not selling nothing. We not a part of no whatever you trying to do. We just coming in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We honor Noble Drew Ali because he's a universal prophet because we needed him the most. And even in the lowest state of who we are, going in and seeing something like this, and then people looking at us, I don't even know how to describe it. And again, those of you that have been to Kemet, wherever it is that is your Mecca, that is your Hajj, your holy place for you to visit. For some of you, it might be Canaanland. And some of you have multiple ones where you go somewhere and it does something to you. Signs and symbols. Imagine if all of the new movies they make about Jesus and Mary and Joseph, everybody looked like this. People was freaking out when old girl did Cleopatra. I still haven't watched it yet. Imagine if all the characters in all of the Christian movies that you've seen, they look like this. Come on, y'all. So what we have to do is what we can. No one is asking you for finance. You should not be giving anyone finance unless you want to. Your nationality, your birthright is priceless. It only requires the time and the consciousness in your pure heart to proclaim and declare. Those of you that are still on this degree or you have loved ones on this degree, find things to change the game, to give them that courage to know themselves a little better. Give them the Dead Sea Scrolls. Get them the Nag Hammadi. Get them Strong's Concordance. Get them Christian Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Whatever they got to do, get them some things that is going to help them. Or if you really, you got it like that, get you a flight, come down to Colombia, come to Bogota. We'll post some places for you to go and you can go visit. Take them. Imagine them going in person and seeing this or going to the one across the pond. Or take them to Abyssinia and seeing those cherubs, or take them to Lalibela and see this church made out of stone. And when we were there on the tour, short sidebar, one of the Europeans was like, are you sure a European did make this? And before I could launch, the brother got her in check. In her mind, she's thinking in the 3rd century, whatever that means for 3rd century, right? That there was a pale-faced European whatever, and that they could actually design anything, let alone themselves, wash themselves, find sustenance to contemplate a higher self as opposed to survival. They could actually build this out of a rock. So we need to have more grace with regards to our brothers and sisters still on this degree. We need to have more grace with ourselves, but we need to be honest and we need to hold ourselves accountable, because I'm doing it myself. And again, those of you that are still social media warriors, we shout out you, because somebody has to do it. I don't like to, but it's important to do so. And I think it's important that we do that. And whatever way that you can help to uplift fallen humanity, to show people that we are not Negro, Black, colored, African American, Indian, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Amerindian, whatever that is, do it with grace and dignity, and give them some things that they can see. We learn by signs and symbols. And again, this is a powerful symbol. And we getting up this morning, going to the top to see this view, and just happening to pivot into the church. There was nothing I saw online that said anything about this. And that's going to change before the commencement of our journey together. Because we want to create a pilgrimage, and we got to be careful, because we know how it is. You know, Moors keep coming down here getting ignorant. They be took mama out. But we know that happens, right? But they may not. Oh, last thing, just a reminder. You want to come out, check her out. Again, nobody got 500 of these and trying to sell them, trying to flip them on the market. So if you see these online, don't buy them. They're not the original, okay? Right? Wearing a pin like this, change the conversation. Wearing your little bracelet, change the conversation. Or your little keychain, change the conversation. And even look at the design. We didn't even talk about the design of the building. There's so much to see. And then pardon this Christos. I don't know what they're doing with him. Last night, did you put away Authentico Christos yet?
I did, Empress. I can get him back out if you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, bring it. We're gonna end with him, man. We're gonna end with because I haven't seen. I've been to so many churches all over the world. I haven't seen no more. I haven't seen no Christos look like that before.
Right. Give me 2 seconds, Empress. 2 seconds.
All right, people. Oh, we got people still on here. Islamisms. Let me go. Let me look at the chat. See what's happening here. Let me see what they be saying out here in these streets. Oh, yes, y'all. Come on now. Tell me if that was at Big Mama's house. Tell me if it was at your parents' house, or your auntie, or your older sister or brother. You know, they deep into it. Imagine if you you know what? Happy winter, so Merry Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Happy Easter. Happy birthday. Happy born day. Happy solar return. Look, this is what I got you. So in that process, we'll be saying, we know us. We've been around too long. We know we're going to have politics. We know we're going to have backbiting. We know we're going to have division, because we created it. We can't get mad at nobody because of what we already created in the vibration. And we know more is going to be more. I can't stop you from doing what you come here to do, whether it's order or chaos. We got polarity. We got rhythm. We got vibration. You know what I'm saying? All is mind. So we know that this is something that has to happen. So don't get distracted by the what is it? The scattering of the flock. Do your part and keep it moving, because that's always going to be an issue. And sometimes, it is entertaining. Some Moors are really good at chopping people up. Principledly, right? You did wrong. You got to get that. You got to get that whooping. Those of you ever had a whooping when you was getting in the shower or getting out of the bathtub, you know what that one is like. You thought you made it, and they forgot about it. Or you get ready to get into the shower. I think that happened to me. Get ready to get into the shower. Ooh, nothing like that. And so we know a lot of people need to get an ass whooping, but that's divine truth. Now, somebody might need to get a two-piece, or might need to tap dance on their forehead, 45 degrees, standing on square, allegedly. Just joking. But some of those, and as Moors, I think I heard people say this before, we might have to tap dance on some heads, because people be coming at us because they think we soft, because we talking about love. No, love is giving you an ass whooping because you out of pocket. And we don't need to even go online and talk about it. We just need to do it. Because I know a couple people who got an ass whooping, and I ain't telling it. I wish I was there to see it. They deserved it. Stop disrespecting Noble Drew Ali. For those of you in the Moorish Simple, we love and respect you. We honor you. But it's not just about membership. It's about getting Moors. You're supposed to be missionaries. You're supposed to be hitting the hedges and the highways. You did not do what you were fulfilled to do, according to Noble Drew Ali. I want to see you just like some of these other Moors. Why don't you talk about uplifting people in the community? Where's your missionary work in the community? And I'm not talking about going on a corner with no shoes and no T-shirts and no socks. I'm talking about offices, buildings, relationships. You've had that temple for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and people in the community don't know that they're not Negro, Black, and colored and African American. And then you don't want to talk about the infiltration. So we got it from all sides. We got people that are proclaimed and declared, whether they're inside the temple, with the body and the mind is a temple, whatever. They have not done their job. They want to try to come at Moors until they know those of us that honor the prophet, because he's universal and you don't own him. And they have these reincarnated prophets. So as we go on this journey, and Asinai hit it on the head, it is not easy. Those of you thinking this easy, this is not. And us getting here, but it was worth it. Just to say and spend the time to share, we want to make sure that the Moors have something. We want to provide some sources of information of, hey, you could come here. It's not that expensive. And I'm not giving promotion to any corporations unless I have an affiliate relationship. We got a contract. That's not what I'm doing. But do your due diligence. And please research before you ask a Moor question. Give yourself a little more credit. Give yourself a little more time to figure it out. You asking a Moor is not going to teach you what you need to know. You have to figure it out for self. So for me and some of the Moors that I am connected with, it's traveling and sharing information. For you, it may not be that. It may be jewelry making. We got somebody on here that designs shoes, clothes. Have you supported Sakina Moore? So as we link up with other Moors and as we find ways to come together, we know that we're not going to all be the same, and nor should we. So again, give thanks. Let's see. Let me look and see. Let me see. Who is this? Oh, shout out. Let me shout out some people I haven't shouted out with. When slaps needed, I won't complain. Hey, that's what we do. Are you going to California? Okay. Be yourself. That's all you got to do. And you know what? It sounds easy, but it is difficult. Hey, I bought some Sakita last year. I look at them in a box every now and then. I'm scared to wear them babies, man. That's a work of art. You know, maybe we have to just buy another pair just to wear, and then leave the other pairs just to have up at the house as a piece of art. No, you do what you need to do. It's not too much if you're doing it. So again, guys, just do what you need to do. We're not going to all be the same. And that's still, I mean, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 things can still be true at the same time. But you have to have discernment. You have to have that ability to make decisions so that you know for self. So for us, it's a balance, right? And there are many more that sacrifice. There's many more that are not going to be able to have sustainable relationships. They're not going to be able to have a good partner. They're not going to be a good parent because they're sacrificing. Nobody's asking you to do that. Nobody's asking you for finance, or I hope they're not. Just use your time and your spirit, your consciousness, and your purpose here for manifesting on what you need to do to help out the movement. Doesn't require you to. I mean, it might be financial, not be able to pay dues right now, and everybody doesn't need to go on live as I'm going on live. Everybody doesn't need to have a YouTube channel. Everybody doesn't need to write a book. But we do need to create these institutions. And again, that takes generations, guys. Like I showed you with those photos. Think about how much that we have to reteach ourselves. And trying to get some reparations is not the start. Because you're going to spend that finance right back to the people allegedly they gave it to you. You're not going to take it and build something new. You're not going to take it and invest it. You're not going to create community trust. You're not going to do things prudently. And again, how are you taking it without having a nationality and a birthright and a pedigree? So it has been real. And I want to again give thanks to Asanaya and Sheldon and everybody that came on. I wanted to just make sure that I hold myself accountable, and when we do meet up, even though we are exhausted, but everybody been working today. You did something today. You took the babies to school, pick them up. When at summer school, they went to camp. You went to work, maybe you went to your business. You did something today, and you know we want to be gracious and respectful of everybody's time, but we definitely wanted to tap in and share. Sharing is caring. So we have given so much to the world, and I think a part of it today for me was to see this. It's not the original one, but it's good enough for me. Because spiritually it tapped into something where think about how many Moors were born and died in this period of being conquered, that thought that they would never see something that looked like this, that it would be fake, it wouldn't be real. To see people that are European or pale-faced bow down in front of this. And initially my spirit was so much where I wanted to just take like we seen the picture of the Pope in front of the Madonna. I wanted to just take the image so people could see that. But I was like, no, that's not the space I'm in right now. Because some people need this be like, oh, that's fake, that's not real. Because that's the type of time that they're on. So signs and symbols. You don't have to come all the way down to Colombia. You don't have to go to the Gold Museum. You can get the book. Or you can go online and find somewhere where they have the Madonna child, they have a prayer card or something, and you can get one to a loved one. Or even if you can't get that close, you get, amalgamated Asiatic looking Guadalupe. Imagine if you made this into some shirts, those of you, or this could be the symbol of your shea butter company. And you put that on, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, find a way to use your signs and symbols, because that's how our ancestors taught the world. And that's how we still learn today when we don't know so, or we're not conscious of it. And we are all at different degrees. And that's all right. But we want to make sure that you have it. And I wanted to say this before I close. There's a brother that I used to work with. He looks just like this. I cannot remember his appellation. I'm going to text my former coworker, and I'm going to say, please send this to him so he could see, like, he looks exactly like, and when Sheldon sees his doppelganger, he ain't gonna be able to see nothing. This brother I know looks exactly like this, y'all. This is not, it's not a joke. And I wish I would see him all the time. I just didn't know his appellation, but I would say hello to him. But he looks just like this. And I know when I send it to her, she's going to find it and give it to him. And his mind is going to be blown. And we don't even got to get deep. I'm just going to have the caption with the source, and I'm going to text it to her, and she's going to give it to him. So when we have these things and we see them, and this is that's what I'm saying, this ain't gold. It's not even in stone. It's in gold. Like, this is a whole different conversation. And we did see some amazing stuff at the National Museum in stone as well. But I think it changes the game. Because that argument of the ADOS and the FBA and all these other political games, because they're still, and those of you that have been around long enough, in that debate when they had Reggie versus, what's his name, where all this attention was on Moors now. And because of all of that attention, the conscious community, for lack of a better term, it did shift, because now everybody wants to be indigenous and aboriginal and autochthonous. They wanted, the definition of Indies, I'm aboriginal. Aboriginal to what? It's an adjective. And again, let me go back to my last one so I could let me finish up on that one. Let me give my brother, my sister page, my sistren and my brethren. And I didn't even talk about the says right here. I didn't even talk about the feds. Ain't no conquistadors. Ain't no conquistadors yet. What conquistadors? Or even this one right here. 200 AD, pendant. Again, I'm just asking. I want somebody to please tell me, if you're in the Amazon with no shirt on and a loincloth, and you just, bobbing and weaving, dangling around, what are you putting your pendant on? You gotta have a lot of clothes to wear, have just one pendant. I know my book game, my shoe game, and my music game is on point. So I'm saying, 200 AD, you was really about that life. You had pendants, and you can't pin them to your flesh, pin them to clothes. And again, we honor respect, because we still have brothers and sisters in those different tribes of different phenotypes that still have some type of cap or fez on. Because they did come into contact with somebody. But we know the narrative is that is the Amerindian phenotype. And if you're not that phenotype, then you're not indigenous. But again, My sister right here, we looking at 500 BC. And she's wearing pendants, or she's made as a pendant in 500 BC. And we don't want to disrespect our Amazonian tribal clan people, but phenotypically, we got to ask some questions. She got that nose, and she got her bangles on, you know what I'm saying? She went to get her feet done. And this is my brother over here, right? Looking like he looked as a pendant 500 BC. And just so you can see that word is going to freak y'all out. That mid-kaka. A pendant. You have to have clothes on to have pendants. And these are similar time frame because, again, look at that crazy time frame. They have so many pendants, they can't even properly identify the time. And we probably know it's probably a lot older than that. But for the sake of the argument, we have to say this argument about this Amerindian pre-Hispanic phenotype is inaccurate because this is in gold at an early time of 500 BC. There is no Spain. There are no pale Europeans or whatever you want to call them, so-called white people. This is the phenotype. And we know that there are other peoples that are here and that we all do look a little different. But as a people, genetically, we're the most diverse. So we are the beginning of all phenotypes. Well, give thanks to the Moors that started out and stayed with us through our many iterations of conversation today. And again, this is a good source for you. Let me put that ISBN up. 2008, 2021. And those of you that can make it down here, come visit Virgin Maria. And again, if you can give these gifts to someone that is still on this degree, do so because it will change the game. And even if they're not, start putting it in place in your, even on your desk, maybe, depending upon, your desk at home. If you have a desk, if you have a contract somewhere, if you have a business, put up a couple things, within the context of, your contract. You're allowed to express your right to your religion, whether you have one or not, in this modern iteration. We have to be smarter than the average bear. We got too many Moors that are so smart that they're stupid, right? It's not just so much about being right all the time or getting that point. Those of you in relationships, sometimes it's better just to say nothing. Sometimes you just got to take that L. So as Moors, we're not taking L's, but what we're doing is we are being efficient, we're being effective, and being honorable to your talents and abilities, because we want to create generations of Moors to create these institutions where we have that ability to create art, to create things that is propaganda, because this is propaganda. And we're the first ones to use it. So we have to be able to reclaim it and find a way to change the narrative. And those people that still want to talk about some ADOS and FBA or Pan-African, hey, that's fine. But you can't argue about this. Well, you can, but we're not going to do it. So I want to give thanks to you guys. Let me go but double check and see if anybody said anything. Ain't no tomfoolery going to stop. It's going to always be tomfoolery. Ain't no high up Moors. We all Moors. All right. I think everybody is those L's. You already know. And again, that's self, and it just means for us to hold ourselves accountable. And so we do what we can, just like we know better, we do better. And so as Moors that travel, I give thanks again to Asanai and Sheldon, those of you that came on. And we'll probably do another one on our next stop. And again, I will put together some short little things and just upload them in quick little sound bites, just so people can have something, because it would be too inefficient to try to do some type of like lecture type vibe. Too much. But maybe at some point that would be a necessary thing to do as well. So again, for those of you that are on here on social media or wherever you do the hedges and the highways, however you do it, you're uplifting and falling humanity. You're letting people know that they're not Negro, Black, and colored, African American, Hispanic, Indian, whatever. We give thanks to you. And hopefully we will be able to come across each other in the flesh at some point and break bread and have some laughs and have a good time. All right. Islam Moors.
Islam Empress, Islam Moors, give thanks.